March 30th, 2024, I held my very first Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament, Yada Lives. This was a big deal for me as my channel is more for educational purposes than gameplay, so when I randomly decided to host an event like this, I had no idea what I was doing or if anyone would show up. I just hope that fans of the channel and retro Yu-Gi-Oh! Would be interested enough that I'm doing this rare occasion to enter and be a part of it all. A tournament based on the 2003 World Championship, aka Yada format, with a copy of the titular card Yada Garasu to the winner. There was around a month between the announcement video and the tourney itself to give duelists enough time to figure out scheduling, think of strategies, and test their decks. Weeks gone by with only like one entry. A few days before the event itself, like 2 entries. I had hoped that more people would enter within the last 48, 24 hours, but who knew what the turnout would actually be like? Well, the tournament wasn't 16, 24 people, but by the time the brackets went live, Yada Lives had 11 people. Hey, I was perfectly fine with that given it was my first tournament and it was a single day event that I was live streaming. So of course I don't want to go too terribly long or too terribly short. With the 11, the bracket looks a little wonky, yet it was effective and fair given it was randomly generated. I couldn't catch every game, so I covered what I could, and what I caught was all excellent. Plus, all of the replays are on my Discord. Somehow, someway, Yada Lives went without a hitch. No technical difficulties, and only one game was lost by disconnect and one duelist dropped, but that was it. Nothing terrible. It certainly made me want to host another one at some point, possibly in the summer. Hey, I don't have to do prizes, but they make them more interesting even if the prize is coming out of my own wallet. That said, how were the decks people played? We did see a variety of decks played, some standard, some gimmicky, and not everything the format could offer. Let's check out the top 4 with GMYFS playing Germ Burn. This was a deck that won DLC 6 back in November and proved to still be a dangerous deck by going a little less burn heavy than before and a little more good stuff involved. Having a rotation of Tomato into Giant Germ that can create more problems is of classic Recruiter philosophy. Creature Swap is the perfect example of this, synergizing with Tomato, Germ, Sangan, Witch, and Scapegoat. Adding in a bit of burn spice like with Ceasefire and Magic Cylinder, you can see how games start to lean towards GMYFS's favor. The side deck double dipped into the burn game, slowing things down to the duelist's liking. Overall, I'm glad to see a deck off the beaten path continue to make waves. Top 3 was C-Spare, piloting the tried and true hand control deck. This is the good stuff of the format, and it's named rightfully so. While Yada is on the side, the deck can still get its game plan off thanks to Donzalug, Spirit Reaper, and Faith with the Sacred Treasures. While the monster count is rather light, the deck has plenty of draw cards: Pot of Greed, Graceful Charity, Mirage of Nightmare, Painful Choice, and Fiber Jar to reset the deck. The side deck game plan appears to be beaters and back row removal alike to deal with the monsters like Gravekeeper Spy and Gearfried, and back row strategies in general. Think of Blast with Chain, Necro Valley, and Chain Energy. Hand control is a solid deck, and no surprise that some of the duelists went with it. Straight from the winner's bracket, we have second place Alephia 2, with possibly the spiciest deck of Yada Lives, Anti-Meta Gearfried. Those Iron Knight decks are quite popular in the format, as we've seen in past Yada format tournaments. However, this build differs in ways of Tiger King Wangu to deal with weak monsters like floaters, searchers, and hand-rip monsters, but also Solemn Judgment to stop any problematic card, plus Flash Assailant. Yes, Flash Assailant, a monster like a reverse Muka Muka or a cousin of Zombira that can potentially beat over even Gemini Elf. And given the high amount of green and pink cards, Flash Assailant seemed to be more active than not. The Gearfried engine was light, which made the deck not rely solely on the strategy over general control, whereas the side deck was a bit more good stuff depending on the matchup. Some people call Alephia the Yata King, given his record, so it's all the more awesome that we saw a fresh deck like this make it to the final round. And I do apologize that I won't be going over everyone's deck in this, but I will at least show all of them off, so congrats to everyone who entered the tournament and gave their best shot. I was happy to see the variety from both seasoned and new duelists alike, and I hope to see you all return for my next tournaments, whenever that is. Also, feel free to support me via Patreon to potentially have even cooler prizes down the road. Coming back from the losers bracket to the finals, we have first place Aratos piloting Hand Control. Aratos fought his way back up in an intense finals that went to a bracket reset to the last possible game barring a tie. Crazy to watch on stream, so I recommend you go to my VOD and check it out. Anyways, like I said before, Hand Control is the popular deck of Yada format, but going 8-1 takes plenty of skill and a dash of luck. Compared to C-Spare, this build has its differences, showing that not all Hand Control decks are created equal. First of which was Bazoo the Soul Eater, a monster that banishes monsters in grave to buff up to attack prowess that can beat over even a Janjo. With 2 banishes, GK Spy's fear of this baboon. Although remember, this format is based on the World Championship, in which Bazoo's effect is errata and must banish monsters only. This makes it a bit more tactical, but that's where the tomatoes and slightly longer than seen before monster count comes in. The 2 Reapers and Eudoria follow this tomato game plan too. Then with a Jar of Greed and Time Seal to chain to destruction and to gain some advantage, the tried and true deck continues to make its case. We have seen a variety of decks win various Yada tournaments, so it's not like Hand Control was the be-all end-all, and the finals themselves were nothing short of incredibly close, intense games where one wrong move would have spelled doom for the duelist. So a congratulations to both finalists and everyone else involved. So let me know if you'd like to see another tourney and what formats you'd be interested in. And hopefully this tournament proved one thing: Yada lives.